Good morning, everybody. We're back and we're live here for the first time in a couple of weeks with Jack and Keith's Weekend Playbook. I'm still away, but able to do the show live as we're back, at least in the United States. And I'm joined by my co-host, Jack Hirsch. He's got me a little Hall of Fame boxing writer and all-around sports guru. Sorry, I didn't want to shortchange Jack on his introduction. But he's got me afraid when I come back to the Northeast, I'm going to have to shovel the driveway or something with his attire today. How are you, Jack?
Yeah, I'm doing well. There's a little story behind this hat. I got it actually during my birthday shopping. But last night I was at this great function, the Atlas Foundation dinner. You know that Teddy Atlas does in honor of his father. It's a yearly event. A lot of big celebrities are there, like Tony Danza, Chris Mad Dog Russo. A lot of sports personalities were there. And one of them was there was Bruce Harper, former Jet running back and great kick returner. And when his name was announced, people were picking up their green napkins and kind of waving them. And I was a little too slow to wave my napkins. So this is kind of like a little bit of a makeup here, having on a Jet hat, as long as I can bear the heat in this.
Jack's really dropping the names today. You're hobnobbing with the elite now. You're
I wasn't hobnobbing with any of them last night, let's say, but I could very easily.
You're back to slumming it today. So anyway, guys, we're glad to be back with you live. I hope you enjoyed some of the shows we put together for you the last 3 shows, I guess, anyway, and even the show before.
Well, how did you? I mean, you had to enjoy your cruise. I mean, you had the best time. You tell me what I enjoyed.
We had a blast. And
were you able to catch the games? Did you have the reception and all? And
I have I have an app on my iPad where I can watch any sporting event you want. I won't mention the name to get them in trouble.
Doesn't that upset your wife? You're on a cruise of vacation and you're watching the games. I mean,
but she's a big Patriot fan, so we watched the Patriot game. We went to our balcony and we watched the Patriot game both Sundays. And I caught some college football as we were around. I would just bring my iPad with me and we'd be laying in the sun and I'd have a game on. So we were able to keep up a little bit. The ship has a Heroes, it's a military kind of bar, but it's also a sports bar. And they would have a bunch of college games on Saturday and a bunch of pro games on. It's just a zoo there, though, because especially on Sunday, Patriots weren't on there. I think they had 5 different games on. People start fighting over what games are going to be on, So, but we were able to keep up. The NFL still went on without me. We'll catch up a little on that. We'll start with last night's game, actually. The Bills, I don't know what to take from the Bills. They struggled. They lost to Miami a couple of weeks ago, we know. They look like they kind of get it together one week and then they run into a chainsaw in that defense from Houston last night. That they looked like the best defense in football last night. I think statistically they are. Is Houston going to make a late run here, and are the Bills fading?
Well, Houston has made a late run, and it's a question of opening up the door for certain teams. As Indianapolis look like they're well on their way to winning the division, and they still are. But if they should lose to the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City this Sunday, they've opened up the door. Houston is actually within range and would have a shot.
Yeah.
So, so for Indianapolis, they have a stranglehold on that division. They're going to have to win because Houston's coming on. And of course, they're the wild card spot. So that's going to motivate Houston to keep winning. And they're doing it without CJ Stroud. Keep that in mind. Their defense is phenomenal. And for their defense to show the resiliency that they did at the end of the game, Buffalo has a 4th down and 27, and they convert a 1st down. Are you kidding? On a hook and lateral, a trick play? And you think Buffalo, who's down 4 points, is then going to take it in and score at that point, pull the game out, keep the pressure on New England, and New England would stumble a little bit at some point, like this Sunday, perhaps. I'm not saying they will against Cincinnati, and that would have opened the door for the Buffalo Bills to then beat New England later on and win the division. But rather than the door opening, the door seems to have shut on Buffalo as far as the division went. If New England should beat Cincinnati Sunday,
Game.
it's all but over for
Yeah.
Buffalo as far as division hopes go. And the feeling of favoritism that the Bills had entering the season as one of the Super Bowl favorites, that's gone. I mean, I think they'll make the playoffs, Bill Keith. You know, it's a wild card. But can we look at Buffalo as a favorite over virtually anyone? They're just one of several teams that can, get to the Super Bowl, not the in the small group of select teams.
I think both leagues are deep in contenders, right? I mean, nobody seems to stand out right now to me as a team that they're obviously going to the Super Bowl. I mean, the Eagles probably. But you look at the teams that are at the top. The teams with the best record are the Patriots and the Colts, and I can't say with any certainty that either one of those teams are going to make a Super Bowl run. I'd like to see it, obviously, for my team, but nobody seems to be a slam dunk here.
Well, it's how you're playing at the time, but also you have to be playoff ready. A couple of years ago, the Cowboys entered the playoffs playing great. They had everything going for them. You talk about momentum. Everything was together, and then they had that disastrous game against the Packers.
Yeah.
And even like this season, we keep hearing, well, the Eagles are the best team because they're Super Bowl champs. Them being Super Bowl champs means very little this season in reality. You got to earn what you have going forward. And you wonder whether a team like the Eagles is truly playoff ready. They've been winning their games. Winning games sometimes creates an illusion. It makes you think you're more ready and more prepared than you actually are. But it all evens out at the end. Look at last season, Keith. Every close game the Kansas City Chiefs won. They won 15 of their first 16 games. Well, this season they're 5-5. They've lost all 5 games, one-score games. Look at the Chicago Bears last year. They lost virtually every close game, and this year it's just the opposite. Are they a much better team? Probably not, but they're winning these games, and you look at a team's record, and it really creates an illusion. And Danny mentioned the Rams are better than the Eagles. Well, the Rams could have beaten the Eagles last year in the playoffs. People forget the Rams had the ball on the final drive that stalled. Had they been able to take it, they would have won.
Well,
but yesterday's game, I just want to get back to it very quickly.
Yeah, go ahead. We did get off of there quick.
Sometimes one little thing makes a difference. The Bills' final drive came up short at the end of the game, but they had missed an extra point. Had they made the extra point, they would have been 3 down instead of 4 down, and they would have been in a position to get the game into overtime. But unfortunately, being down 4 points, they had to go for a touchdown, and that's what did them in at the end.
Yeah, I agree. And Josh Allen was just harassed all night long. I mean, 8 sacks, but he was harassed like every play. There could have been 15 sacks in that game if he didn't get a couple balls away. And I have to tell you another thing I was impressed with. Davis Mills got off to a horrendous start. If you watch, he missed like 4 easy touchdown passes in the first half of that game. And he settled in and played really well, I thought, and made some key plays for the Texans last night as well. We focused on the defense, but he's done a good job filling in. You mentioned Stroud was out, but Davis did a good job, though. He's 3-0 now, filling in.
Yeah, coaches have their favorites with backup quarterbacks. They love quarterbacks that know their system, and they want to stick with them. You see that with the Steelers with Mason Rudolph. I mean, Mike Tomlin loves him. He knows his system. These guys aren't going to start for you, but if you need them to fill in, they can win. You don't want them to be a long-term solution. You don't want them to be a quarterback the whole season, but they can win for a period of time. And Davis Mills is that guy with Houston. He has a horrendous career record with Houston. Horrendous. He's lost something like 75% of his starts.
Yeah.
But he's played capable in those losses. So, and D'Amico Ryan's defense, wow. I mean, what a defense that unit is.
That's the best defensive performance I've seen all year, quite frankly. They were awesome. Listen, and kind of continuing on the same topic we were talking about before, Danny did say too, when he was talking about the Rams being better than Eagles, it is who's playing best in December. It's when you're winning. I'm worried about the Patriots peaking too soon and some of these other teams. There is momentum, and Danny's right. I know you seem to go into this conversation every week, but momentum is important because it's not just winning; it's when you're winning. The Patriots during that whole 20-year dynasty, they owned December, which allowed them to, I think, really be hitting on all cylinders in January.
I don't know the momentum. I don't know the momentum. It's how you're playing at that time. Finally getting it all together. You want to be playing your best come playoff time. And that's not
well, that's momentum.
Momentum is winning one game after the other. That's momentum. Look, the Chicago Bears right now have momentum, but they're not a championship caliber team, the Chicago Bears, not even close. But I could argue, oh, the Bears have momentum. If the playoffs began now, look out for the Bears. And they'd be no threat at all.
Well, Texas might be a good example, right? They're getting together. I think they've won 3 in a row. They could have a hot December. It doesn't mean they're going to be one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl, I don't think, right? So, but anyway.
No, well, it's not momentum. They're just playing well at the moment. They're playing better. That's all it is.
That is momentum, though. It's part of I think we just have little different. I don't think we're that far off saying the same things. I just like the word. I don't think you like the word. I think we're saying the same thing.
I see what you mean, but I just think it's an overrated term. I think it applies during an NBA game
Danny's saying the same thing.
Where a team goes on a run at points and they have a certain momentum going at that time.
Yeah.
They keep it going during the game, and they maybe outscore opponents 22-2 during a certain span. That's a stage of momentum during the game.
Yeah, Danny, I think you're right. As I just said to Jack, I think we're kind of on the same page. Jack just doesn't want to use that word. I don't know. Yeah. Good morning, Michael Abrams. Good to have you with us. Sorry, I know we've been confusing Michael on when we go live, but we're back on our regular schedule after Sunday. So Jack and I are back on our regular schedule from here on out. Danny did bring a good point last night about Buffalo too. Out with Keon Coleman. Keon Coleman's a great talent. At least was coming out of college. He had some moments last year. This guy can't seem to get out of his own way, and the team has to continue disciplining him. Now 2 weeks in a row, he's a coach's decision not to play. And Kincaid out last night, too. So the Bills have some injury and attitude issues, if you will. You got to show up to meetings. It's not that hard, man. I don't get it.
Coming from Florida, he was drafted very late in the first round by the Bills. Yeah. And the knock against him was he didn't have the greatest speed. I thought he should have gone high in the draft, and I thought he would be a better NFL player than he's shown so far.
Right.
But it's only his second year. The Bills have given him every opportunity, and sometimes you just wonder the maturity level of some of the players. We're seeing that with the New York Giants with Abdul Carter, who was supposed to be a terror coming out of Penn State, and he's been mediocre. And when they start questioning your work ethic when you're a rookie, you kind of wonder whether the player's ever going to snap out of it. Like, your work ethic is something that can't be forced on you. I mean, any player can inspire himself for a couple of games, to get up and play hard. But, you either have that intestinal fortitude, you don't, and you wonder whether Keon Coleman has it or not. It remains to be seen.
Gotcha. And I believe this is, I think this is Flo from Bottom Line Sports. Good morning, Flo, and welcome back.
Well, that's what I thought. Okay.
Talk about Mills's career.
14-27 is more like a 35% winning percentage, if I'm not mistaken.
I can't math. You're probably better. You taught school. I barely made it through school.
And 14 would it be a 50% winning percentage? He's really down there. That's 41 starts. Wait. Yeah, 41 starts, 14 wins. Yeah, about 35%.
But if we're talking about his performance and helping his team today, he's 3-0 this year, which is pretty. That's where they need it.
Record out. Yeah, throw it out. He knows the system. I mean, look, CJ Stroud's the starter.
Oh, without a doubt. I'm not questioning
about Davis Mills. I mean, he's doing what you want a backup to do.
100%. CJ Stroud is the quarterback. There's no doubt about it. All I'm saying is this is a guy who stepped in when their season was on the brink, by the way. Their season was on the brink when he came in to play, and he's kept them in the race for
Keith doesn't carried away.
They're 2-5, Jack.
Defense, okay? He's done his job. He hasn't kept them in anything per se. He's done his job.
I'm not saying he won those games.
Hurt by Stroud's absence.
I agree. I'm not saying that he went out there and won the games for them, but he's the guy out there being the field general, and he's going to get some credit. He has to get some credit for that.
And we did give him credit.
We blame him. No, we did. We did.
What a backup has to do.
Yeah. I mean, again, we're gonna. If he didn't play well, we certainly blame on him for the losses. I guarantee you that. So remember that. And good morning to Robert Butler. I see Robert out there. Good to have you.
Robert.
The rest of the NFL this week, and we've talked a little bit, you and I did before the show, about the changing of the guard. There's some very interesting games this weekend, changing of guard games maybe. Colts and Chiefs play this week. The Chiefs season, I think you and I were on the same page here, along with most people, thinking the Chiefs were, when they got healthy and got Rice back, and they were going to start, showing their wares and that they were maybe still the best team in the AFC. They're sitting here at 5-5. This is a big game for them at home against the Colts, who are leading they're tied with the Patriots for the best record in the AFC at 9-2. Big game.
It is a big game. Can you imagine the Chiefs fall to 5-6? But let me tell you something right now, Chiefs. If the Chiefs are to lose to the Colts, they're still going to make the playoffs. They're still going to make the playoffs. They'd be 5-6. They'd have 6 games to go. They'd go 5-1 the rest of the way. They'd get in as a wild card, and they would be dangerous. Okay, but now with the Chiefs and the Bills apparently headed to the wild card round, they still have to earn their way there. Nothing's a gimme. But if they are in the wild card round, because they're not going to win their divisions, they're not going to meet in the AFC Championship game. I don't think the math would figure out the 2 wild card teams getting there the way we're set up. We don't know what the matchups would be to this point. But there is a little bit of a changing of the guard. And you're looking at teams like the Broncos, the Patriots, and the Colts. There's a little bit of changing of the guard, but they still got to do it in the playoffs, because when all is said and done, if we get the Bills or the Chiefs or the Ravens in the Super Bowl.
What about the Ravens?
If one of those 3 teams gets the Super Bowl, guess what, Keith? There was no changing of the guard in the AFC. None at all. Because before the season started, that was the consensus. It would be one of those 3 teams who would get in. The Chiefs once again, the Bills finally breaking through, or the Ravens finally breaking through. That was the consensus. So one of those 3 get in. Don't tell me about a changing of the guard.
Well, in a way, I guess it's just them breaking through, right? The Ravens and the Bills. They've been there knocking at the door. They just haven't been able to kick it down. So I agree, I guess, to a certain extent there. Good morning to Miss Linda.
A little comment was made before about the Rams being the best team. I just want to throw this at you. Rams played the Seahawks last week. The Rams barely eked out a victory, barely. And Sam Darnold was intercepted 4 times. There were 5 turnovers. Give me a break. If you get all those turnovers and you can barely eke out a win, it doesn't really establish as a powerhouse. But with that said, the Rams are a legitimate Super Bowl threat in my view.
I would agree with that. Listen, I'm not a big smoke and mirrors guy. Colts and Broncos winning with smoke and mirrors. Wins are wins. Nobody asks you how. They just say how many. And I always go back to my favorite fat bastard, Bill Parcells. You are what your record says you are. And, you're 9-2. You're 9-2. I don't care how you got there. Yes, you have to go win in the playoffs and prove your worth. But, I'm not going to take anything away from either one of those 2 teams or my team.
No, you don't. But they're strong 9-2 teams, powerful 9-2 teams, and those who have that great record, but they're really aren't that good, come playoff time. I saw before the Bronco Chief game, they were doing a preview of the game, advertising, oh, battle of the quarterbacks, Bo Nix and Patrick Mahomes. I mean, give me a break. Bo Nix isn't in Patrick Mahomes' class right now. Bo Nix has done a wonderful job, and he rightfully is the Bronco franchise quarterback and should be going forward. He's done a
100%.
wonderful job. And no knock on Bo Nix, but please don't put him on the same level as Patrick Mahomes. Like, stop it. You know,
gotta win. You got to win something before you're on that level. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. And look, they got to, you know, they're coached well over there by Sean Payton, the Broncos, and they were expected to. They made the playoffs last year, and they were expected to be better this year. I don't think anyone should be shocked. And a lot of people did think the Chiefs would take a gentle step back. I picked the Chiefs to go to the playoffs, but not the Super Bowl, not the AFC Championship game.
Yeah. I think the AFC is wide open. I think the NFC is wide open. Danny talks about the Seahawks. I think our last show we did live together, I was talking about the Seahawks were potentially the best team in the NFC, but they laid an egg on the road in Jacksonville last week.
I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. You talk about this nonsense about momentum from runners. Look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're 6-4.
Yeah.
They've lost their last two. They're going to lose to the LA Rams this week again. So they're going to be at 6-5, the Buccaneers. Okay? And people are going to say, and my friend who's a Buccaneer fan lives in Tampa Bay texts me saying, oh, how wrong I am. They're not Super Bowl contenders, blah, 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 because of how they're doing recently. So they're going to be 6-5 after this week. And people are going to write them off for the most part. But you know what's going to happen? They're going to be 6-5. They'll have 6 more games. They have a soft schedule. They're going to go 5-1. And I know the Panthers right now are on their trail, the Buccaneers. But take my word, the Panthers about 0 threat to win the division from the Buccaneers. Virtually 0.
I agree.
And the Buccaneers are going to enter the playoffs at 11-6. And they're not going to be considered still that much of a threat, and you're going to see how well they do in the playoffs.
I don't disagree. And Danny talking about wild card teams, I agree. I never said wild card teams couldn't win. I don't think I'm not sure how we got to that point. I don't think winning the division is the end all be all in any sport anymore because of the number of teams that get there. You got to be healthy and winning. You can, again, I still think you need to be playing well in December, heading into January to give yourselves a shot. And wild card teams could be the Texans. I don't know. Somebody's going to catch fire and surprise.
I wonder about the Philadelphia Eagles, Keith. Are they going to really be playoff ready? Because they go through their season like they want to turn a switch on and off. And A.J. Brown has been knocked a lot by people. People think A.J. Brown has this terrible attitude problem. I don't. I think A.J. Brown understands their offense isn't functioning the way it should. And last year, okay, they had great success running with Saquon Barkley. But for the Eagles to win the Super Bowl again, their passing game is going to have to pick up again. And for the most part, it's been non-existent in the majority of the games.
Why do I keep hearing people say Jalen Hurts is one of the top 5 quarterbacks in football? Because I don't see him playing that well on a consistent basis. The guy's tremendously talented, and he's played good in some big games. They won a Super Bowl last year. I'm not going to take that away from him, but this Eagle team keeps feeling to me more like the Eagle team from 2 years ago than the team from this year. Or last year. I don't know.
Oh, I know when they imploded at the end.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I'm saying Jalen Hurts has to be connecting with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. They've got to get on the same page. The coaching staff has to get them on the same page. Get the passing game going, and that'll open things up for Saquon Barkley to get back into form. Saquon Barkley hasn't been the same player this year he was last year for whatever reason. And, the Eagle defense is played really well. That's the primary reason, they've been winning.
Yeah, the other half of Bottom Line Sports, Ken is with us. Good morning, Ken. I'll give you guys, I always tell Flo to give himself a little plug. Catch Ken Flow Sunday at 6:15. I think that might be Central. I'm not sure, but you can clarify that to talk about some of the weekend's football. So catch those guys. Always good stuff. Rick had something here I wanted to put up because we were talking about the Seahawks. So not sour grapes for Rick, but he feels Darnold will come up small. He's only playing one big game in his whole two.
Yeah, how many big games did he have? He bombed out the last 2 games last year.
Yeah. So I guess he's 0-2.
Darnold's problem isn't big games. He doesn't fold under pressure. He folds under big-time defenses.
Yeah.
That's what the problem is.
Yeah, he gets happy feet. And, again, if he runs into that type of pressure, he's going to fold again. I mean, that's just who he is. So, again. What else? What other games intrigue you this weekend? We talked about Chiefs and Colts. Rick's Vikings play the Packers. I don't think the Vikings are still alive. What's with the Packers? Who are the Packers? Are they a contender?
Yeah, the Packers are absolutely contenders, but
up and down.
One of the quarterback situations of teams like with Jordan Love, the assumption was that Jordan Love would keep improving. Is Jordan Love as good as he's ever been? I mean, you just don't know. But look, the Packers, after they beat the Lions so decisively in week 1, we really expected big things from them to maybe take off. And they've been a bit erratic this year. But they're playing in Green Bay against the Vikings. And Lambeau Field hasn't been as much of an advantage as in the past, where they've lost there a couple of times this year. And the Vikings, who were 14-3 last year, I mean, they're 4-6 right now, and the franchise has put its full faith on J.J. McCarthy, and I wonder they having second thoughts about that. But what are you going to do? You can't just go out, Keith, and get a franchise quarterback. No. People don't understand it doesn't work that way. You can't say, I'm unhappy, let's move on from him. And the big mistake that these coaches make, and it's pure foolishness, is they bench someone who in the quarterback position. They bench their franchise quarterback, and they think they're going to bring him back maybe later on, but they bench him for someone else. Like in the case of the Jets, they benched Justin Fields for Tyrod Taylor. Now, Justin Fields is under contract next year. He's going to be with the Jets next year. They're not going to eat that money. Someone's got to quarterback that team. And to move forward with Tyrod Taylor, it just doesn't make any sense. Now, he can play well for 2-3 games. I'm not saying no. He's done it before, and he can do it again. But you have to stick with what you have or get rid of that particular player.
Hang on one, Jack. For whatever reason, I'm getting my picture taken here. I have no idea why, but...
I'm checking you into the...
I think I'm being checked into the airport or something. I don't know. I agree 100% with that. I mean, it feels like the Jets are making a quarterback move just to make a quarterback move because they got to do something to appease fans and sports writers. So,
but why? Listen, what are we 2-8 this season? 2-8. What is Tyrod Taylor going to do for you? Let's say Tyrod Taylor plays very well the rest of the season, which is possible. Is he going to be a quarterback next year?
No.
I mean, what exactly are we doing here? I mean, Tyrod Taylor could be a competent backup, and he should play if Justin Fields couldn't. But what you're basically doing is giving up on Justin Fields. Look, the Carolina Panthers did this foolishness when they benched Bryce Young. They had given up on Bryce Young. And they replaced him with their backup, Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton had no chance of being the Panther, quarterback going forward, but they replace him. But then Dalton gets hurt. They bring back Bryce Young. Then Bryce Young plays better. And now Bryce Young's the quarterback this year. And he's shown that he might be their franchise quarterback. They have to decide whether he's worth signing or not. That's debatable. Could go either way.
It's funny. I thought Justin Fields was a worthy gamble for the Jets, but I think there's just like Sam Darnold, just like Daniel Jones, guys we talked about a lot right circumstances, guys can flourish. Justin Fields needs the right circumstance, and he hasn't found it. And I don't think teams know exactly how to use him. I really don't. The Jets.
Well, case
If
of
not-
Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones has played really well this year, all in all. If I'm the Colts, I'm fine with Daniel Jones being my quarterback going forward. You know, we're talking about next year beyond at a reasonable price. If the Colts are crazy enough to make Daniel Jones one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league, they're going to come to deeply regret it. It would be insanity. It would be pure insanity if they made a long-term commitment at mega dollars for Daniel Jones. It would be it would be stupidity. But, you know, the only way you justify it if Daniel Jones carries the Colts to a Super Bowl victory, something like that.
I would think that a reasonable place for Daniel Jones to end up contract-wise would be what Sam Darnold probably got in Seattle, right?
Well, they only had a 1-year commitment, the Seahawks, to Sam Darnold. Darnold's stock went down dramatically his last 2 games.
Well,
we
Jones is going to get more
of them. With Daniel Jones, when the Colts get eliminated this year, how they get eliminated, the fashion, how he plays. But take my word, if Daniel Jones plays a miserable playoff game, that is a major red flag for the Colts, major. And they should sign him to a similar deal where 1 year's guaranteed the money, and beyond that, it's kind of not fully guaranteed.
Well, we need to see that happen before we worry too much about it. But he'll get money. He's going to get 4 years guaranteed. He's not going to get a 1 year, 4 year thing like.
Well, Darnold got a 3-year, but they had it out after 1 year. The Seahawks, because Darnold wasn't in demand.
Well, then he may get the same kind of thing, but he's going to get, you know.
Well, it depends how he finishes up. If the Colts lose in the playoffs, they lose 33-30, and Daniel Jones is superb, it's a lot different from what Sam Darnold went through.
Well, I think Daniel Jones is also kind of, he can't just go anywhere for the money or he's going to fail, right? He's in a perfect place where he is now, and he can make plenty of money right there. He needs it.
I'm not crazy, Keith. It's body of work. This is his 6th year in the league.
All I care about is what he's done now with this team.
But those other years were in an accident where he didn't perform. They were not an accident.
But again, in different circumstances, in different programs and systems, and he's in the perfect system for him right now. He should stay there if it's about money.
Oh yeah, and like I said, the way things stand now, if I'm the Indianapolis Colts, I would make a reasonable commitment to Daniel Jones, because if you're the Colts, what are your alternatives? That's what people don't understand. What are your alternatives? The Colts aren't going to draft at the top of the draft to get a quarterback like a Drake May, someone with a lot of potential. So you stick it out with the Daniel Jones. You know, I was thinking about the draft. Okay, well, my head here, yeah. Just something got to keep warm.
Yeah, he hopes the Jets play better than that.
You have a better read on the college game than I do. And if I'm a team like the Jets, who have 2 number 1 draft picks this year and 3 number 1s next year, what I do is trade one of my number 1s this year for someone's number 1 next year. So I'll have 4 number 1s next year, when the quarterback crop, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, is going to be much greater. The guys coming out of college. And sometimes it's best to wait an extra year. People don't understand. It's not a question of getting the best college quarterback. Your best college quarterback this year might not be good enough to be a franchise quarterback in the NFL. So you don't draft him just because he's the best college quarterback. Like with my friend.
That's what happens year after year.
Going to the banquet. He keeps arguing. The Yankees have to sign Bellinger. They have to. They can't let him walk. You know, Cody Bellinger's a free agent. People don't have common sense. They just signed someone. I don't care. Like, just give them any amount of money they want. I mean, people have no common sense sometimes, Keith.
Well, they just did that with somebody, and we'll talk about that another day. I was going to say something. What was I? What were we talking about? You derailed me with Bellinger. Now, what the heck was I?
I switched to baseball.
Yeah, I know. What were we talking about, though? We were talking about.
We're talking about Daniel Jones.
the quarterback class.
Quarterback.
Going into this year, I would have told you that this quarterback class coming out of college was head and shoulders above last year's, but it isn't. It's not a good class. Now, I'm not saying the Jets or somebody else can't get a quarterback in this class, but you don't take them in the top 10. You might not even take them in the first round. You could find a quarterback. I think you can get quality later, or potential later. And if you do want to get a guy at the top of the draft, you want to wait a year for sure.
Keith, you're absolutely right. But when you're looking for franchise quarterback, you have to get him early in the draft because if he's that good coming out of college, they're all going to go quickly for the most part, unless there's a fluke like with Shedeur Sanders, and we don't know how good Shedeur Sanders is going to be yet.
I'm going to talk about him. There was a question about
the other issues. You can't count on having a franchise quarterback who you're going to pick in the third round, because if he's going to last till the third round, he's apparently not that good of a prospect.
Fair. Again, too many teams, chase that franchise quarterback who's not really there. I still think I love Cam Ward at Miami, big Miami fan, but guess what? That doesn't mean anything going into
they were available, but Keith, there's some rounds quarterbacks available in the first 12 spots or so. A year ago, 6 quarterbacks were taken in the first 12 spots. Yeah, you can plan your franchise quarterback that way. You can. But once it gets past that and you're late in the first round, if a quarterback is that good, someone's going to take him. I don't want to hear you could get your franchise quarterback late on. If you do, you're getting him accidentally. In the case of Tom Brady, the Patriots got him accidentally. It was a fluke that Brady wound up being what he was. Dak Prescott went in the 4th round. No one was counting on Prescott to be the Cowboy quarterback of the future. It just worked out when Romo got hurt. He got a chance to play. Kirk Cousins went in the 4th round. He got a chance to play when RG3 got hurt and flopped.
I'm not saying don't take guys. Well, the numbers say don't take guys in the first round at all. I'm saying don't waste top 10 picks, because who's won the last bunch of Super Bowls? Patrick Mahomes was not a top run pick. Jalen Hurts wasn't a top 10
He went 10th, I think.
12th, I thought. Maybe he was 10th. I thought he was 12th. But
maybe you're right. I think, I thought.
We chase guys. The Jets have done it with Wilson. The 49ers did it with Trey Lance. There's a gazillion pieces of evidence to say don't do this.
No, you're wrong. If you look at where the quarterbacks have been drafted, name a division, any division in the NFL.
The AFC East.
AFC East. Josh Allen went, I think, 9th overall. That was a strong quarterback class. Baker Mayfield went first, then Sam Darnold. He went 7th or something. Then
Baker Mayfield doesn't play in the East, but that's a detail.
No. I'm saying that year Josh Allen was drafted.
Okay.
Josh Allen went early. So imagine the Bills bypassed Josh Allen in the top, and they had a top 10 pick. Imagine that, Keith. With the Drake May. Imagine the Patriots bypassed them.
Let me ask you a question.
You went 4th overall in the first round.
I'm going to call an audible now, but we're still talking about quarterbacks. What is the quarterback draft that everybody talks about in our generation? 1983. How many of those quarterbacks won Super Bowls? One.
Well, it depends the team on. I mean,
one.
Dan Marino was in that draft.
Did he win a Super Bowl? Did he win a Super Bowl?
But
I'm not saying he wasn't a good quarterback.
It's a team game. How you can't bypass Dan Marino. And
my point is, you don't have to get quarterbacks in the first round to win Super Bowls. That was the best quarterback draft in our generation, and one guy won a Super Bowl from that draft. One guy.
If you look at the teams that have won Super Bowls, for the most part, the quarterbacks were highly drafted. I mean, if you look at it that way, I mean, look, the Giants beat the Patriots twice. Eli Manning was the first overall pick in the draft. Okay,
Yeah.
there you go.
Two
I
fluke
mean,
Super Bowls. That's a couple of fluke Super Bowls.
Patrick Mahomes' first-round draft choice.
I didn't say it never happens, but I'm looking. You look at the overall numbers. I mean, again, go back to '83. How many combined years did all those guys play? I don't in the first round. 120? I don't know. And they got one Super Bowl or two Super Bowl wins. Two. It doesn't. The numbers don't weigh out drafting guys that high if you want to win the ultimate prize.
Elway went first. I don't remember. I know Marino went something like 30th.
Kelly.
Ken O'Brien went like 26, but that's
No
okay.
Super
26
Jim Kelly, no Super Bowls.
Position. Oh, Jim Kelly, Hall of Famer. Give me a break.
I'm not saying.
The Bills would have gone to 4 Super Bowls in a row in all probability if they didn't have Jim Kelly.
When I have this argument, it's not about the talent of the players. It's about winning Super Bowls. If you want to win Super Bowls, you're not drafting quarterbacks in the top 10. You're just not. Look, again, one Super Bowl out of maybe 120 seasons in that first round of picks. Maybe I'm a little high on the seasons, but still, none of them won except Elway. Nobody won a Super Bowl. I'm not saying they weren't great quarterbacks. Some of them, obviously, they were. Some were busts. Todd Blackledge went in that draft, I believe. Tony Eason went in that draft.
Wasn't Troy Aikman the number 1 overall pick in the draft?
Not in '83. Yes, he
won 3 Super Bowls. There you go.
I didn't say nobody. Again, the numbers still say you can pick and choose and find guys. Absolutely, you can. But when you're going to go over the overall...
Wasn't Jim Plunkett the number 1 overall pick in the draft, if I'm not mistaken?
He was. And, oh, by the way, the ones who do win, except for guys like yes, Plunkett was the number 1 pick. I will give you that. Yes. But he didn't win in New England. He won with his third team.
Oh, but they won but it shows their franchise quarterback.
Jim Plunkett was... by the way, Jim Plunkett belongs in the Hall of Fame. Jim Plunkett was not a franchise quarterback in any way, shape, or form. He wasn't. He was out of the league.
He wasn't a franchise quarterback, but he belongs in the Hall of Fame.
I know it sounds weird. He's got 2 Super Bowl wins, but he had to sit out 4 years, basically, sit on a bench for 4 years, just recovering from the trauma he'd been through with the Patriots and the 49ers before he actually won.
I thought you were going to blame Plunkett's trauma in New England on Belichick, but he had.
I can't. He wasn't there. He wasn't there a long time before.
It sounds like Belichick, pre-Belichick.
That's Chuck Fairbanks. We'll blame there. But anyway, it's getting late. We got other stuff to talk about here. Real quick, let's talk about some baseball news that since we left. We had the MVP in the AL, which is a little bit of a. Actually, real quick before we move on, because Rick had a question about this as well. Shedeur Sanders is going to get his chance to start this week. Looked bad last weekend. Rick, you had a question about this earlier, and I apologize for not putting it up, but we were on something else. Listen, I'm not going to judge Shedeur Sanders on what he did last week when he gets thrown in there during the middle of a game, maybe almost got a concussion. I don't know. I didn't see a lot of the game. I can't really comment a lot. I think Shedeur Sanders has a chance to play in this league. He's not going to play well with a bad team. If you're expecting him to go out there and throw for 400 yards this weekend, it's not going to happen. So what does Shedeur Sanders need to do to show that he has some potential?
He's under more pressure than any other player this weekend because he has a coaching staff who's not enthusiastic about him succeeding. I mean, the worst nightmare could give their coach Kevin Stefanski, who never seemed to want Shedeur Sanders in the first place.
No, the owner wanted him.
Shedeur Sanders to play a great game. Imagine Shedeur Sanders plays a sensational game and Dylan Gabriel is ready to play next week. I think Stefanski goes back to Gabriel regardless. And this gives Stefanski a perfect excuse if Cleveland loses and Sanders plays terribly. Look, it takes a little time. This is, in reality, his first game. I don't hockey count last week. He didn't have reps with the first team. He was thrown in. He had no familiarity with Jerry Jeudy, for example, in practice. Hadn't gotten to thrown to him. And it's like it was a choose-up game in a way, the offense. We're choosing guys and they come to his side of the ball. That's what it kind of reminded me of. Shador Sanders will be a good quarterback in this league. I really believe it eventually.
I agree.
If given the opportunity, but he screwed himself up coming out of college. His dad, Deion's arrogance by originally saying who he's going to play for, who he wants. They were acting like they were calling the shots. They were acting like the Mannings were. The Mannings got away with it. Partly because the Mannings are white. I'm going to tell it like it is, partly
Fair.
to a degree.
I think that's fair.
And also because Archie Manning was more respected than Deion Sanders. Deion was respected as a player tremendously, but his personality threw people off as opposed to Archie Manning Sr., who had a personality that people gravitated to. And that's the difference involved. You know what would have been perfect for him, too? The Ravens wanted him reportedly, but he knew Shador was going to be Lamar Jackson's backup because he could run the offense the same way. And Lamar Jackson liked the kid. He wanted to take him under his wing because Lamar Jackson knew how good he was. He was going to be the starter. But Shador's attitude was, oh, no, I'm not going to – his dad was, oh, no, he's not going to be a backup for anyone. He's got to, start, have his own team, blah, blah, blah. He falls to the 5th round. If Cleveland didn't take him, Keith, let me ask you, do you think there's a chance he wouldn't have been drafted altogether?
It's impossible. It's possible. I mean, half of them wanted him. The ownership wanted him. The team didn't, the coaching staff didn't want him. The GM didn't want him. So it's possible. And all those other teams had passed on him 5 times, basically. So it's possible he'd have gone undrafted.
And let me ask you this, too. No one talks about it. Quinn Ewers lasting till the 7th round. Is that a story that we're overlooking?
Yeah. I think he'll get a chance at some point, maybe in Miami even. He'll get a chance to play in this league. And I think he's got as good a chance as Shador Sanders or some of these other guys that went, way before him.
And let me ask you one more thing. Is it possible I'm wrong and other people are wrong that Shador Sanders lasted till he did because the teams just thought he wasn't that good? Nothing with personality, nothing with Deion. And he got picked in the 5th round because, let's face it, Jimmy Haslett, the Brown owner, apparently stepped forward.
Yeah,
and
that's the only reason.
To take him.
Yeah. By the way, I don't think Baltimore had been the best spot for him anyway because he doesn't play the game like Lamar Jackson does. He doesn't run the football. He's not a runner. At least he wasn't in college.
Rolling out and passing now.
And Danny, I don't necessarily agree that. I don't know Archie Manning, and you don't know Archie Manning. I don't know that he's a pompous ass or not. He got what he wanted. By the way, he also had another son that was in the league doing pretty well, so he had a little bit of leverage there. By the way, so.
And Archie Manning's move was brilliant on two ways. Okay, him getting involved in his son's careers, unlike Deion, helped his sons. Because had Eli stayed with the Chargers all along, he wouldn't have been in any Super Bowls in all likelihood. Wouldn't have gone to any Super Bowls. Would have had a long career, not nearly as successful. And Peyton Manning was set to come out as the 1st overall pick in the draft, and the Jets would have taken him Bill Parcells. But Archie Manning wanted Peyton to stay in school, not to get drafted by the Jets, because he knew Peyton's personality, and the New York media would have been terrible for Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
And it worked out for Peyton.
Danny, so you met him and you think he's an asset?
The dollar signs? I don't get, what are the dollar signs coming from? I mean,
he doesn't want to say ass.
Or what?
He doesn't want to say ass. He didn't want to type ass.
The dollar.
Yes. So
no, I don't think so. He strikes me as a good guy, Archie Sr., but I don't
care if he's pompous ass or not. I mean, he did right by his kids. He managed to get them in good positions in both situations. And listen, I met Bill Parcells. He's the biggest pompous ass you ever met in your life. He's one of the best football coaches ever.
Wait, let me get this straight. Bill Parcells was at the bar at the racetrack, getting off on his own, enjoying a drink, and you're picking his brain about the old Giant teams. The guy wants to relax, Keith. When did you think he wanted to talk to you? What went down?
Well, I asked him, why he screwed the Patriots over the way he did. That's all I asked him.
Oh yeah.
And I was polite about it, but
What? You said you came up to him and said, "Why did you screw the Patriots?"
no, I didn't say it that way. I said, Bill, I'd love to buy you a drink, and he said, no, I don't take drinks from people I don't know. And I said, would you mind chatting with me for a few minutes? I'd love to talk about your career, and he just blew me right off. So anyway, I don't blame him. He probably gets guys like me bother him all the time.
With someone else.
He's still a jerk, but he's a great coach. I've never said that. Just because I don't like him doesn't mean he's a great coach. Just because Archie might be a pompous ass doesn't mean he didn't.
You know what a sign of a great coach is? You can win in different situations.
Yeah.
Like I think of the comparison of Vince Lombardi. If you want to compare Vince Lombardi to Bill Belichick, the reason Lombardi's a better coach is this. Belichick was great for a couple of decades. He built a great program at New England, phenomenal for 2 decades, what he did. So if you want to talk about accomplishments, yeah, you can maybe put Belichick all the way up there. That's fine. But when Belichick was with Cleveland and now with North Carolina, yeah, and with New England the last 4 years post Brady, he hasn't been a good coach. Plain and simple, he hasn't been good at all. Lombardi leaves the Packers, who he led to 5 championships in the 7 years he was there, and he goes to the Washington Redskins, who hadn't had a winning season in 14 years. And they have a winning season.
Yeah.
Nothing great, 7-5-2. But when you haven't won for 14 years, and this guy comes in and you have a winning record, same thing with Bill Parcells. They come in, they have winning records. They do much better, these other franchises.
Well, Lombardi might very well won a Super Bowl if he hadn't got sick and passed away, because that team went to a Super Bowl with George Allen, I think the next year or the year after that.
No, it wasn't the next year. It was a ways after that. Was
2 years later, maybe. 72?
It was a few years. It was a few years later.
72. I think Lombardi coached there in 70, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, Lombardi passed away, I think. Well, the year Super Bowl 4, I think he coached. And that's when the Chiefs beat the Vikings. Yeah. And the next year, the Colts won it. And the year after that, the Miami Dolphins beat the Redskins 2 years later.
Maybe it was 3 years. It might have been 3 years. But it was,
whatever. It's not important at this point.
Yeah. We can't seem to get off Shador, but we'll get off him after this. Rick is pointing out that I didn't hear this come out because I haven't seen all the news that's been out there, obviously, but he was talking about the offensive line could not hear his cadence. I don't know if that's because of Shador.
This is boring stuff. No one wants to talk about cadence. Come on.
Well, again, if you can't hear the quarterback's cadence, that is a problem. I don't know if it's crowd noise or lack of confidence.
I have no clue what you're talking about. What game? Come on, move on, Keith. Tell me about it.
I do think that's an interesting point, Jack. That's all.
About what? What game are you talking about?
Last game, when he came in and he got himself clobbered the whole time. He was terrible.
Who?
Shador. Oh, I'm sorry. We did move off. I'm sorry. Sure, Sanders.
Yeah.
Shador. You probably didn't hear me. Can we go on Billy with the moment? What time? I'm not sure what that is, but 72 is when the Redskins did go to the Super Bowl. Anyway, we might go a couple minutes long. I don't know. MLB. I did want to get into some MLB talk about, because we didn't get a chance to talk about Judge beating out Cal Raleigh, which was, again, I guess a little controversial. To me, either guy could win. I've talked about this. I have no problem with Aaron Judge winning this award. I probably would have voted for Cal Raleigh just because of the historic season he had, the position he played. But I'm certainly not going to throw a bunch of tantrums that Cal Raleigh didn't win this and he got screwed. He had a great season, and I'm okay with Judge winning this MVP. Do you think it's a big deal?
We hear this nonsense about Yankee bias. Well, if Raleigh were Yankee and Judge were Mariner, Raleigh would have won the MVP. Yeah, it's nonsense. In 2009, Derek Jeter should have gotten the MVP award. He should have gotten it. He Yankee, but the Minnesota Twin got it. Justin Morneau?
Mauer, wasn't it? Joe Mauer.
Mauer, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. No, Mauer, great
Yeah.
one too. Mauer got it. And Jeter deserved it. And now we reflect back, and yes, Jeter deserved it. I felt he deserved it then even more so now. Don Mattingly's not in the Hall of Fame. He's a Yankee. Where's the Yankee bias? I mean, don't give me this nonsense. When you look at what Judge has done and all, I would have voted for Raleigh.
I would have as
Personally,
well.
I'm telling you that.
I would
Because
have.
what he did was phenomenal for catcher, and the catcher is an extra important position. We have a premium on great catchers, and we've never had the catcher have that type of offensive year. And Riley was good defensively and
It's a great defensive player.
tremendous value. But I don't want to hear like with bias. I mean, I was happy when Judge got it, being a Yankee fan and him being one of my favorites. It brought a smile to my face. But if I had to vote as objectively as I can, I would have given a little edge to Raleigh. I understand arguments could be made both ways because what he did was more historic than what Judge did.
Yeah, I don't think it's not a case. I mean, if you line up all the statistical categories that people look at, right, most of the check marks are on Judge's side, but I don't think you can look at it just like that when you're talking about most valuable. But again, he certainly deserves the award, Judge. And again, I would have voted for Raleigh as
It's not
well.
best play, it's most valuable.
Yeah,
And the catching position is more valuable than a
100%.
right field. So the catcher
100%.
can do something phenomenal. Like it's so hard to make a comparison. Like if I said to you, who's a better player, Johnny Bench or Ken Griffey Jr.? Ken Griffey Jr. was a better player than Johnny Bench, as great as Bench is, but Bench was more valuable. I'd rather have Johnny Bench than the great Ken Griffey Jr. Because when you get catchers like Johnny Bench, you never do.
Right. Good morning, Ronnie. Good to have you with us down there in Panhandle in Texas.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. MVP and Player of the Year. And
NFL does stuff like
yeah,
that.
A-Rod got the MVP. Mike Trout got the MVP. That was absolutely absurd. They went last place teams that made no sense. How valuable can you be to a team if they've come in last place? When Ohtani got it with the Angels those times.
A great point. And speaking of Ohtani and Ronnie being a Dodger fan like Danny, Ohtani, rightfully so, I think the last 2 years wins the MVP. I mean, going away.
Yes,
he's the only guy now.
Ohtani's primarily a DH, and that turns me off as far as a guy's value. He's not contributing anything in defensively.
I normally have a problem with that as well, but the fact that he pitches, and he did pitch half the year, not a lot of innings, obviously, but he adds a value that nobody else in the game can add, and he also changes the game offensively.
His pitching, they have an award, the Cy Young Award there. But I understand, that's an issue in itself. Ohtani, you can say, has tremendous value in that he puts extra people in the seats and he makes his team relevant even when they're having a bad season. When they're on the road, people show up because of Ohtani. So you could maybe throw that in there if you want.
And listen, historically, I know we talked about the Angel MVPs for him maybe not being worthy necessarily because of playing on such bad teams, but he is the first guy ever to win 2 MVPs in each league. So there is something to that. He's a great player.
Ohtani's already, Hall of Famer. He
without a doubt.
Anything else?
I find interesting.
Play the game.
Yeah, one other thing I want to touch on in Major League Baseball is I find it interesting that both Cy Young Award winners are potential trade candidates this offseason in Skubal and Skeens. Both. I'd be shocked if one of these guys at least doesn't get traded this winter. If not,
I'm not sure what the contract is. I think Skubal might be 1 year away from free agency.
I believe he is, yes, and I think the Tigers might want to move on before the.
Yeah, the Tigers have to make a decision. You either sign them or you trade them at this point. And I would, if I'm the Tigers, if you want Skubal bad enough, desperately enough, you treat him like he's a free agent right now. You don't wait. You think a year ahead, make believe he's in the open market. blow him away with an offer that he's not going to turn down. You have to give him at least 45 million a year, you know, and maybe 10 years, 12 years, maybe 12 years or something like that.
Yeah. Well, baseball's hot stove is going to start heating up here pretty quick. So we'll be talking more baseball as we go forward. I know before we get into our college picks, and I got one other post I want to put up before we go away because I want to fact check myself with you. But you had some boxing news you wanted to talk about.
Yeah. There's a movie out called Christy, on the life of Christy Martin, which she had to go through. It's a pretty intense movie. We're going to have Christy Martin on the show I co-hosted, Frank with her. So she's going to be our guest this Monday night at Glove Fist. We run 7 to 8 Eastern time. Christy's going to come on about 7:20. The Christy Martin, who the movie was named after, is going to be a guest on Glove Fist. You know, I could get anyone. I could get a lot of big names out there. I'm just a little lazy because of my book. That's going to be out in a few weeks, my book on Mike Spinks. You know who I want to get on Glove Fist? Damian Lillard. I got to reach out to him. I haven't done it yet. He's a big boxing fan. Big boxing fan. I think he'd like to come on and talk boxing. I'm sure we're on the same page. We'd both rather talk boxing instead of talking about the Portland Trail Blazers.
Now, is Frank going to challenge Christy to a boxing match?
No, Frank will be polite. Frank will be good.
She'd probably knock him out. Frank, if you're there, I apologize. But, we're
Frank saw the movie. I saw the movie. You're going to maybe take
I'm going to see the movie.
Yeah. Go. It's a good movie, actually. It hasn't done. Sydney Sweeney starts in it. It hasn't done well at the box office, but it's one of those rarities. A movie when people see it, they say, "Hey, this was a pretty good movie," but for whatever reason, it didn't catch on.
Yeah, you got to get that buzz early and whatever. Good morning, Bo. Good to have you with us. Check out Bo. Bo will be coming on live here soon too. Check out Bo and Pags and the Net Crew this morning. Let's do our college picks here, Jack. And I do have one comment I want to go back to real quick before we get done. We didn't pick anything last week. I was going to email you to do picks and I forgot about it. So we skipped a week. As best I have our and I'll double check this. I've got our season records now at you. I am 17-18 and you are 14-21. So we're not setting the world on fire here. So
why would anyone want to hear the opinion of someone who's 14-21 and picked? I mean, why would anyone be interested in what happened?
Because you bet the other way, like Danny does with my picks. Fortunately, the picks I make here are really the picks I'd make a bet on the weekend, fortunately. But give me your two favorites.
I'm going to take, or
whatever order you want to go.
I give you the team I'm going to take with the points first.
That's fine.
Because I guess if I have to have a favorite college team, it's Rutgers. I'll take Rutgers with the 32.5 points against Ohio State, okay?
Good luck.
Yeah. I'm going to take Oregon and give the 10.5 points against USC.
We're going to go head-to-head on that one.
And I'm going to take Texas to have a little bit of a bounce back. I'll give the 8.5 points against Arkansas. Texas is at home.
Texas?
This is a big game for them to bounce back. So
good move. All right. Well, my favorites, I'm going off the beaten track here. I'm going to take in the American. I got I got one American Conference bet here. I got UTSA, University of Texas, San Antonio, -2.5 over East Carolina in the American. I'm going to take Houston -2.5 over TCU out in the Big 12, which still might have playoff implications at least conference playoff implications. And we're going head-to-head on my underdog because I'm taking USC, Danny Fuller, +10.5 at Oregon. I'm not an Oregon believer yet. I got to see them beat a really good team. They haven't beat anybody in my mind. Nobody. Penn State, they went there and won. Doesn't look so good anymore. So that's where we're going to leave that. I want to fact check something here. We were talking about Vince Lombardi. I think you and I are both right. Danny says he left the Pack and never coached a game when he got to Washington. I don't think that's true. I think he coached
one season. He went 7-5-2.
I agree 100%. Just wanted to fact check that. And but in all fairness, anyway, George Allen did put the team together. That's fair because George Allen brought in a bunch of guys that are older than me and Jack to play when he got there. He brought in his old Rams.
George Allen, a different team. Sonny Jurgensen was Lombardi's quarterback he inherited. And Billy Kilmer, a couple of years later, is a quarterback for George Allen.
George brought half his team from LA.
But Lombardi, the fact is, they hadn't had a winning season in 14 years. The Packers, in Lombardi's only year with them, they had a winning season, 7-5-2. Nothing great, but at least it was a winning season that they hadn't had in 14 years. That's the point I want to make.
I also feel like, and again, George Allen, I think, was the de facto GM on that team, brought half his team from LA. I don't think Bobby Beathard came around until around the Joe Gibbs time.
No, Allen was the guy in charge. He was the GM. He even traded with the Jets. He gave the Jets a #1 draft choice for their defensive tackle, Berlin Biggs. And they asked George, well, what are you going to do with the #1 draft choice? He said, Berlin's on #1 draft choice. He wanted veteran players. He hated young players, George Allen. Hated
He sure did. We would have had a chance.
That was his nature.
You and I would have had a chance to play on that team, probably.
And it was the Over the Hill gang.
I've been over the hill for a long time. Guys, it's been great to be back live with you. I'm glad that I survived to get back here and get live with Jack again. The canned shows, we had a lot of fun putting together. We hope you enjoyed them, but it's more fun interacting with you guys as well. So thank you for coming back with us.
And just one last thing on that college pick of Rutgers that you laughed at me. Consider this. For Rutgers, this is their Super Bowl, a championship game. There's such excitement at the Rutgers campus that the national champs, Ohio State, are coming in. For Ohio State, they might do it on talent, but they're not up for this game. For Rutgers, it's so sky high, it's incredible.
Well, the thing is, why it's maybe not a bad bet is because Ohio State doesn't need to win that game by 32.5 to help their standing, right? Somebody else like Notre Dame's got a huge spread. They still need style points in my mind. So anyway, catch Jack tomorrow morning on the debate show. We got a debate show tomorrow?
We have a debate show,
And Jack will be on the big football show. I might be able to get on for a little bit when we get to the airport and get through TSA. If I have some connection, I'll try to jump on for 20 minutes or half an hour if we have time. And Sunday Stream of Consciousness, we might do on the fly Sunday at some point when I get home. So, guys, but we'll be back on our regular schedule Mondays and Fridays live at 8 a.m. So stay with us. Great show today. Thanks, Jack. Thank you, guys. Keith Engle, Jack and Keith. Weekend Playbook. Have a great weekend, guys.